In the time before the Titans, before the gods of Olympus, a great battle was waged. The wrath of the primordials. The very beings who forged the earth. Raged out of control for an eternity. And from this rage, this madness of war, the Furies were brought forth. Neither Titan nor god, mortal nor shade, the Furies were bound to no one. For they were the guardians of honor, the enforcers of punishment, the bane of traitors. When Zeus came to power, he found he had little to fear from the sisters. The Furies sought retribution only for those whom they deemed guilty. The first of these traitors was Aegean the Hecatoncheires. When the brute pledged a blood oath to Zeus, only to later betray the king of the gods, the Furies were quick to take action. The sisters relentlessly hunted Aegean, and upon capturing the creature, tortured him without mercy. For the Furies believed death was too kind for this oath-breaker. Aegean the Hecatoncheires became an example to all. A special symbol for those who might think to break a blood oath with a god. Kratos, the great Spartan general, was finally defeated. Driven mad, tortured and uncertain of his surroundings, the warrior found himself captured like a fly in the web of the Furies.
Never again.
Okay, what is up everyone? Welcome to the first hour of God of War Ascension. I'm going to be trying a slightly new format for these videos. Unlike the first hour for Ni no Kuni, I'm going to divide these up into two more digestible half-hour segments. You'll see the same thing with Tomb Raider, but I've been kind of lazy about uploading the first hour of that. Maybe tomorrow. So, this series is one of my favorite series from this generation and from the last, actually, because it started with the PS2. And spoilers for the series up until now ahead. The God of War series follows our hero Kratos, or our anti-hero rather, who is tied with Asura for the title of angriest video game protagonist. So Kratos, who is a great Spartan general, eventually faced a barbaric foe who he could not defeat. In a moment of desperation, he called out for help to the Greek god of war Ares.
What's wrong?
Kratos pledged servitude to Ares, and in exchange, Ares turned the tide of the battle. So Ares eventually tricked Kratos into murdering his wife and child to harden him, to make him a more perfect warrior. Their bodies were burned and their ashes were fused to Kratos' skin, giving him his signature white appearance and his nickname, the Ghost of Sparta. Ares' plan backfired on him and drove Kratos out to seek revenge. And he became the new god of war after murdering Ares and after learning the other god's treachery, he went on a revenge-driven killing spree through Mount Olympus, culminating with the murder of his father Zeus at the end of God of War 3. And, whew, that was a mouthful. Oh, we have some new... In the meantime, while I've been recapping the series thus far, we've seen new mechanics. Actually, I can't... it feels like I've done this before, but I can't quite remember. Ah, she only needed one more hit. Ooh, that's brutal. So, Ascension here is the 6th entry in the God of War franchise. Actually, is it? It might be the 7th, because I think there was a mobile game. Anyway, there was a God of War. There was God of War 1 through 3, and then the PSP games Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta, which were later bundled and released on the PS3. There was also an HD re-release complete with trophies and all that of God of War 1 and 2 for the PS3, since they were originally PS2 games. Oh, I need to double jump over these. So I don't... To give you an idea of how fond I am of this series, I don't platinum or 100% many games, because I typically don't love them enough to put up with doing all the mundane side stuff. Oh, and it looks like we have a slightly altered combat system. Oh, the physical attack I think is... What is that? Oh, I see. Okay. Looks like they moved the throw button off of circle. That and the rage meter is new. It looks like just like a power-up that keeps you going from battle to battle. It seems like it drains very quickly, but you build it up in combat, so the idea seems to be that you want to keep in combat as often as possible to keep the meter up. Where was I? Oh, I have platinumed every single God of War game, and this will be no exception. God of War 3 is also the only game I've ever reviewed and given a 10 out of 10 to, and that's out of a pool of about 60 games over the last 3 years. And granted, I wasn't as harsh a critic at the time, and some elements of the ending don't quite hold up to me. Still, point being, I'm a really big fan of the series, so I'm really excited to jump into this game. And I could go on about why I like the game, but I'll just let the gameplay speak for itself. So, of course, Terrence Carson, you haven't heard him much, is returning as the voice actor for Kratos, and I don't know who else is coming back for this game. I hope they found a way to fit Hephaestus in, who was voiced by Rip Torn in God of War 3, and he... this is gonna be a terrible pun. Tore that roll up. So right now, I'm kind of trying to feel something out, because this doesn't quite feel as responsive as I'm used to. There's also something that's kind of like nagging me about the way this feels, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. The music is pretty quiet, and I checked the my settings before what you guys are going to be seeing, and my volume was maxed out, so I don't know if it's a mixing issue or some kind of audio glitch, or if it's just really calm. Man, I would really hate to go on like a 8-minute spiel about how much I love this game and then have Ascension turn out to be a disappointment, but so far it's way too early to judge. There are some nagging issues, like I said, that I'm trying to feel out right now. I really like that these are basically standard God of War enemies, standard mooks, but they're remodeled and reskinned to be setting appropriate. They've been redesigned, so even though they play technically the same, they're at least a little bit of a breath of fresh air visually. I can't... Why won't it let me interact with that? Ah. Guess I wasn't at the right angle? I was at the obtuse angle. Ho ho. Math humor. Yeah, the music is really understated here. It's kind of weird. Let's see, can I break any of these? Nope. Oh, wait, there's something down here. So we still have mash to open the doors. Yeah, but I think I'll leave hint messages on for the time being. See if there's anything particularly new here. It looks like they slightly changed up the combat system.
See how we treat oathbreakers here.
Surprised I didn't find anything in that cubby hole. What is this? Oh right, this circle was my physical attack by... I don't know if I like the idea of disposable weapons, assuming that's what this is. Otherwise, it's just really not creative. It's not feeling great. It's a hell of a lot more fluid and responsive than the Blades of Chaos are this time around for some reason. But still, why the hell would I want to use this dinky, standard, boring sword when I have the Blades of Chaos? Ooh, that was nice. So when they have the glowing half circle above their heads, I'm supposed to grapple them to finish them off.
It is time for you to meet your death.
Something about the roll isn't hitting me quite right either. For one, it feels like the roll isn't that you can't cancel it into it from attacks, like you can't cancel the attacks with the roll. So that's making it seem a little jittery or a little unresponsive, and it can't cancel out of it, so it feels not quite fluid. And then there also seems to be like an input delay or
See how you fare
some kind like a really high startup on it, so it doesn't feel responsive. There's your Trypophobia, which sounds like a fear of sheep stomach, but oh, it's a big swarm host. Oh man, as much as I love God of War, I kind of really want to get back to playing Heart of the Swarm, which also came out today. Oh, it looks like a facehugger. And a chest burster is bursting out of the facehugger, which is a hand, which is also a swarm host. Oh, I like that design. That is really, really cool. But there was like no sound effect there. What the hell? The sound effects are really, really weak. There's a real weakness to the sounds. The exact same sentence 2 times, pretty much just slightly rearrange the words. So, yeah, between that and the music being super underplayed, they don't... the audio doesn't have the punch you would normally expect. And it's really jarring. It's hurting the feel of the game feel, if you will. Some of the effects are spot on, but other times they seem to be either really lacking or absent. Maybe it's also part of it that's... Maybe part of it's also that Terrence Carson is doing like less grunting noises, like heaving sounds when he's attacking, so you lose some of the impact there. But the game feel it feels off so far. And that's... I'm so not... If I was expecting to have an issue with a God of War game, it would not be any of these things I'm describing. Like, this is so the opposite of the way I think about God of War. So far, it's not super fluid, it doesn't feel very responsive, and the sound design is hurting the game feel like a lot, and none of those issues I would ever expect to have with this game. Also, I'm pretty sure they took the invincibility frames out of the dodge roll, which that'll take some getting used to. That's not as big of a deal, though. It would be nice if the now less responsive dodge roll had the invincibility frames to make up for the fact that it's harder to react to things with it. Yeah, even the attacks feel a little less responsive. I'm not really feeling the intensity here. It seems like they keep putting the prompts further towards the edge of the screen as the series progresses. Oh, this is sick. Jesus. Wow, that is one hell of a vista. This is a very pretty game. It is gorgeous. And this feels straight out of Tomb Raider, the new one that is. Although I'm pretty sure this mechanic has been in at least one or two previous games. I don't remember it too well. Eee! The camera angle here, that's really tight. Camera angle here is making that harder to judge. I'm liking those kinds of sections, but I'm a little bit lukewarm. It's very cinematic and gorgeous, but I'm not getting the same feeling I got at the start of God of War 3, for instance, where you're fighting Poseidon like right off the bat, and the vistas are sweeping and the action is really intense and it's fluid, most importantly, and it's all like a big breathtaking spectacle. And I don't know if the formula is just getting long in the tooth or if the execution is just a tad off. And I'm not even necessarily talking about the technical issues I've been describing, or the mechanical issues I should say. Like there's no sound effect here either. There is one, but it's very, very quiet. But when you jump, it makes the camera shake, and it seems like there should be like some deep bassy thud or something. It seems like sound effects are just missing sometimes.
My sisters are too kind.
Oh, I was saying, in that comparison to God of War 3, I'm not even comparing the mechanical side of things. I don't know, something about that sequence was underwhelming. And again, he just kicked a gate that was bolted into the walls out of the wall and off a cliff, and there was literally not a sound effect until it started falling down the cliffside. I'm thinking there has to be some kind of technical issue here. I mean, I can't imagine they just forgot to add in a sound effect or overlooked that or something. So it has to be an audio bug, but still, that's pretty ridiculous. Okay, so what's around here? I'm a little surprised that... Oh, I guess I'm only 20 minutes in. I'm a little surprised I haven't found any, like, Phoenix Feather or Gorgon Eye chests. Yeah, I've been going through all the hidey holes and the cubby holes. I'm only finding the red orb chest so far. Unless they've just gotten really, really good at hiding chests on me. Oh, well, come back and clean up all of the collectible chests on a second playthrough, I guess. Launching still feels really good. That's... On the ground game feels unresponsive as hell for some reason, but once you get up in the air, everything... It seems like the controls... once you get up in the air, though, it seems like the inputs come out much faster. This is something I'm definitely gonna have to spend more time with the game to actually see. Because maybe I just lost the feel for the game, but I don't know. Something's not quite sitting right. Based on the stabs, I keep worrying that these guys are the satyr enemies, and... Man, it would be a real pain in the ass if the game introduced the satyr-like enemies, or whatever the equivalent in Ascension are, this early in the game. Oh, it's like one of the urns or the items you find throughout the previous games that you can activate on subsequent playthroughs. Oh man, now I can't stop thinking of the God of War, the fish costume. I think that's the one that gives you infinite magic. Oh, that reminds me, I don't seem to have a magic gauge, unless I only get the magic gauge once I have magic. Similarly, I don't have the item bar from God of War 3. Again, unless I don't get it until I get an item. I really, really like this angle and this lighting. Despite my kind of lukewarm reception to it thus far, to the game's credit, this is ridiculous visual magicianry. Like, this looks next console gen. At least at times. Like, I have seen like a couple frame rate dips and some muddy textures here and there, but between the lighting and just the scale and the scope, it's really super impressive. Okay, I am starting to get a clearer picture on something I was talking about earlier. The music is definitely way too quiet and calm. It doesn't fit this situation at all. It's technically not... The track itself isn't bad, but it's not appropriate for what's going on, for the action. And... Huh. I don't know if it's fair to entirely blame Tyler Bates, who scored this game, or at least who's at the helm of the soundtrack. And maybe later tracks will fit better, but man, I'd kill to have Michael Reagan doing the soundtrack right now. Also, I'm not a big fan of all of the knockdowns that these enemies have been doing. I don't remember there being that many knockdowns in God of War before. There were a couple things like that, but I mean, the obvious solution is just to play better and not get hit. But I feel like these tiny pot shots shouldn't be taking you out of the action and breaking the flow of combat so badly and for so long. I'm really trying to like this game, but it's kind of fighting me. I'm now used to the responsiveness a bit, so it's kind of easy to just put in the back of my mind and enjoy the spectacle, but... part of the problem with having unresponsive controls like this especially your defensive options, the evasion roll, or the evasive roll, it makes it difficult to react to things, to actually play defensively. And the flow of combat just doesn't feel right. I hate to keep harping on it, but it's kind of a major issue for an entry in this series. The sound effects mess with the game feel in a really wonky way too. So the worst part is these are systemic things, so I'm feeling a little pessimistic that they're going to improve in time. And since the roll is so unresponsive and you can't cancel into it smoothly, you kind of have to rely on blocking more now, which feels super weird for God of War, but maybe not necessarily bad. I've played every game through on the highest difficulty, and rarely did blocking come into play because the dodge roll used to be so good and it felt so fluid, especially because you could immediately roll out of an attack. I understand removing the invincibility frames to make it less safe to just spam the roll, to make it like less of a go-to option, but now Kratos doesn't feel as spry, and this game is primarily about the game feel, about having things fluid and fast and responsive, and the combats in any of the games has never been particularly deep, so when you take away that element that helps you easily absorb the spectacle of all of it, it's just like a cascade of issues that undermines the entire foundation of the game. Actually, this probably isn't the case, but what if they made some of these changes intentionally to make players feel the distinction between Kratos at this point in time and Kratos going Super Saiyan partway through God of War 1? Then again, this is set 6 months after the death of his family, and God of War 1 is still set before he became the God of War, for the most part. That happens at the end of God of War. So, I mean, there shouldn't be that much of a difference in power between Kratos now and Kratos at the start of God of War 1. I mean, that's a flimsy justification for having these controls. Oh, that's the what was it called? The zipper technology that debuted in God of War 3. If you remember disemboweling the centaurs in that game, well, that's the system they used to do that. It's the same as what they're using now in Ascension, give or take a few tweaks. Oh, so I was pulling it to expose the grappling point, and now... Can I just jump to grapple? Nope. Okay. So it looks like I just have to come around to this side and ascend the ladder. I have to God of War ascend the ladder.